My name's Eli, I'm 28, and I'm the oldest of three. Growing up, I was the quiet one, the helper, the one who kept peace at the dinner table, took the blame for broken things I didn't break, and stayed invisible when our parents were too tired to deal with more chaos. My younger sister, Haley, 2 years younger than me, was the opposite. Loud, dramatic, emotionally explosive. If you breathed wrong around her, she'd make a federal case out of it. Our baby brother, Nate, mostly kept to himself and played the peacemaker, but somewhere along the way, he figured out how to vanish entirely when things got tense. Meanwhile, I stayed. I always stayed. So when Haley got engaged, it wasn't a shock that she made the entire thing a spectacle. There were 6 different announcements, one for each social media platform. A surprise proposal with a hired photographer. A countdown on her Instagram story that started 240 days before the wedding. She created a mood board for the color palette and cried when our mom said the florals would cost too much. It was her show, and the rest of us were just expected to clap. Now, I won't lie, Haley and I haven't been close in years. Things got messy after college. She moved back in with our parents briefly and blamed me for escaping while she was still stuck in the nest. I tried to help her job hunt, but every suggestion I made was either too boring or below her. Eventually, she found a marketing job through her fiancé's connections, and suddenly, I was the loser with no style and a weird apartment. Whatever. I let it slide. Again, that's just how she was. People like her don't change. They just find new people to perform for. The invitation came late. Like, suspiciously late. I only found out she had finalized her guest list because my mom asked me what I was planning to wear. I hadn't received anything. When I finally texted Haley, her response was, "Oops. Thought I already sent yours." The invite arrived 2 days later. A generic printout with no RSVP card, just a QR code. My name wasn't even spelled right. I should have known something was off when I noticed I was seated at table 9, aka the leftovers table. You know the one. Random co-workers, great aunts nobody's talked to in years, plus ones of plus ones. Meanwhile, our cousin Danielle, who Haley used to call a discount Kardashian, was seated at the family table, with a nameplate and a personalized wedding favor. But the real kicker came during the reception. You know how most weddings have that one emotional speech, the moment where someone, usually the maid of honor or best man, gives a heartfelt toast? Haley decided to do one herself. She took the mic after dinner, glass in hand, and stood next to her new husband under the fairy lights. "I just want to thank everyone for being here," she started, all choked up. "Some of you traveled so far, and I really feel the love tonight. But I have to be honest," she laughed nervously, glancing at our mom, who was already side-eyeing her with that tight-lipped warning look moms get when they know something bad is coming. "There were a few people I wasn't sure about inviting," she continued, looking directly at me. "But we felt bad, so here we are. Cheers." The room went silent. A few polite chuckles. Someone coughed. And then there was me, frozen in place with a fork halfway to my mouth, while my stomach dropped somewhere below the tablecloth. I didn't say anything. I just nodded, as if to say, "Wow, classy." Then I stood up, walked outside into the crisp evening air, and sat on a stone bench behind the venue, where the music was muffled and the cold could bite my skin a little. 15 minutes passed before I went back inside. I didn't want to make a scene. I just wanted to survive the night. But then I saw the photographer. Some guy named Jonah that Haley hired from out of state. He was packing up his gear near the cake table, looking irritated and muttering to himself. That's when the idea came to me, not fully formed, but like a flicker in the dark. I'd paid for Jonah as a wedding gift. Haley had gone on and on about how the photographer she wanted was too expensive. And since I couldn't think of a good gift and wasn't part of the wedding party, I decided to cover the cost. Quietly. No drama. I Venmo'd him the full amount weeks before the wedding. No one else knew. So I walked up to him and said, "Hey, just wondering, how many good shots did you get tonight?" He looked at me like I'd just handed him a thorn. "Not enough," he said. She micromanaged the entire thing, told me not to shoot certain angles, demanded I delete any photo where she didn't look like a Disney princess, and even made me crop out her own bridesmaids from some group shots. I'm done. I've never been treated like that in my life. I nodded slowly. "Would you believe me if I told you I paid for this?" He blinked. "Seriously? Seriously. And I think I'd like a refund." He paused, then pulled out his phone, opened the app, and within a minute the money was on its way back to me. I'll be honest, he said. I was going to eat the loss and never deliver the files. This saves me the headache. I just smiled and thanked him. I didn't tell anyone about the refund that night. Not my mom, not Nate, not even Haley. I went home, took off the jacket I'd ironed for an hour, and tried not to stew in the humiliation that kept repeating in my head like an echo. We felt bad, so here we are. The silence after that toast felt heavier than any insult. It wasn't just a jab, it was a statement, a message, that I was a prop in her perfect wedding, an obligation, not family. And maybe, for the first time, I realized I didn't owe her anything anymore. Not kindness, not silence, not peacekeeping. 2 weeks passed. I didn't hear from Haley. No thank you message, no follow-up, nothing. I figured maybe she was too busy honeymooning or being aesthetic somewhere for the gram. Then, out of the blue, she called me. It was one of those calls where the ringtone itself sounds angry. I answered, and her voice came through sharp and breathless. What the heck is wrong with Jonah? What do you mean? He won't send the wedding photos. He said something about a refund and copyright, and that I'm not entitled to the images. I played dumb. That's weird. Did something happen? She was fuming. No, he's being petty. I want the raw files, like now. There are no pictures from the ceremony. None. And the only decent shots anyone got were from Cousin Danielle's iPhone. My whole wedding is basically a blur of bad angles and blurry smiles. I'm gonna sue him. I leaned back in my chair. You might want to read the contract you didn't sign. It was under my name. She paused. What? I paid him. Remember? The photographer. That was my gift. But you, why would you refund it? I shrugged, even though she couldn't see me. I guess I just didn't feel good about the investment. The silence on the other end stretched like a tightrope. You're joking. I'm not. You're doing this to punish me. I didn't respond right away. I let that accusation sit for a moment, then finally said, I'm just taking your advice. I wasn't really invited, so I figured my gift wasn't either. She hung up. 2 hours after that call, I got a text from my mom. Call me when you're free. Your sister is hysterical. I stared at the screen for a minute before setting the phone down and walking to the fridge. I wasn't ready. I needed to brace myself. Because when Haley cried to Mom, the whole family felt it. And by felt it, I mean we were expected to fix it. 10 minutes later, I called her back. Mom didn't even say hello. What is going on between you and Haley? I exhaled through my nose, slow and quiet. Did she tell you about the toast? She said you were being overly sensitive and took something she said out of context. Out of context? She literally said she only invited me because she felt bad. She was nervous. People say things when they're emotional. Mom. She said it into a microphone. During a toast. In front of 100 people. There was a pause. She knew I was right. But my mom's reflex was always to smooth things over, even when smoothing required steamrolling. Well, she said, switching gears, why did you refund the photographer? That was spiteful, Eli. That's not like you. That hit a nerve. It was the tone, disappointed, bordering on scolding. Like I'd set the house on fire because someone forgot my birthday. Spiteful would have been pulling the plug that night, I said. I waited 2 weeks. 2 weeks of silence. Not a thank you. Not even a single photo shared. She used me, Mom. I paid for that guy because she couldn't afford him. Then she turns around and treats me like I'm a seat filler at her show. Mom sighed. Not because she disagreed, but because she was trying to figure out how to keep the peace without admitting who started the war. I just think there's a better way to handle this. Maybe. But she never cared about better ways when it came to me. We sat in that silence for a few seconds before she changed the subject, like she always did when conflict made her uncomfortable. We hung up on a neutral note, but I knew she was going to call Haley the moment we ended the call. And I was right. By the next morning, my phone had exploded. Haley had posted a series of thinly veiled, inspirational quotes to her Instagram story. Stuff like, people will pretend to support you, just so they can feel better tearing you down. Not everyone at your table is on your side. It's okay to cut out the negative energy, even if they share your last name. Followed by a selfie with puffy eyes and a caption that just said, some people really showed their true colors. Lesson learned. Then the group chat started popping off. Cousin Danielle texted, is she talking about you? Nate sent a single eye emoji. Then Mom wrote, please fix this. She's devastated. I ignored it. All of it. Until the next day when I got an email. Subject line, request to resolve outstanding dispute. Wedding photography, it was from her new husband. Jared. I barely knew him. We'd had maybe 3 conversations in the 5 years they'd been together. I opened the email and sat back, reading it twice to make sure I understood. He was asking politely, but with a lawyerly tone, if I would reconsider reversing the refund, citing emotional distress, lost memories, and unintended consequences. He even mentioned that some guests were upset about their group photos not being delivered and that this was a blow to the family morale. I laughed out loud. Actually laughed. Because now it wasn't just about Haley being petty, it was a full PR crisis in her world. She hadn't just lost her wedding photos. She'd lost the narrative. This wasn't just a wedding for her. It was her Super Bowl, her masterpiece, her curated, highly filtered fairy tale. And without those photos, she had no proof. No Pinterest album. No viral TikTok recap with soft piano music and a slow-motion spin in her $2,000 dress. Just memories and bad iPhone lighting. And that's when it really hit me. I had more power than I realized. I didn't respond to the email right away. Instead, I went back to my messages with Jonah, the photographer. We'd exchanged a few texts since the refund, mostly casual stuff. He seemed relieved to be out of the whole thing. I texted him, "Hey, quick question. You still have the photos?" He replied almost immediately, "Yeah, I didn't delete anything. Why? Would you mind sending them to me? Just in case." There was a pause. Then, "You're not going to leak them or anything, right? I don't want drama. No leaks. Promise. Just need them in case she tries to spin this." He sent me a Dropbox link that night. Over 1,200 raw and edited images. I spent hours scrolling through them. There were a few good ones, sure, but Jonah hadn't been lying. The whole thing was awkward. Haley had micromanaged everything to the point of stiffness. In one photo, you could see her snapping at a bridesmaid for having her bouquet too low. In another, she was adjusting her hair with a scowl mid-walk down the aisle. Jared looked half asleep in most of them. The guests looked bored. Honestly, if she'd just let Jonah do his job, she might have had the fairy tale she wanted. But that wasn't my problem anymore. I thought about responding to Jared's email. I thought about sending him a one-line reply that said, "Tell your wife to apologize." But I didn't. I waited. And 3 days later, I got the text that changed everything. It was from Haley. "You went too far." No greeting. No explanation. Just those 4 words. I replied, "You started it." She didn't respond. But 5 minutes later, the group chat blew up again. This time, it wasn't cryptic. It was public. And it was messy. Haley had posted a reel to her Instagram. A wedding recap, pieced together with blurry photos, shaky video clips from other people's phones, and screenshots of people texting her, saying how beautiful the wedding had been. The caption read, "When your photographer betrays you and your own brother sabotages the happiest day of your life, you get creative. Hashtag blessed, hashtag still beautiful." That was it. She'd made it public. The gloves were off. And that's when I decided I wasn't going to just sit in the shadows anymore. If she wanted a show, I was going to give her one. I didn't reply to her post. Not publicly. Not privately. I knew Haley. She wanted a fight. She wanted people to see us fighting, to fuel her narrative that she was the wronged princess and I was the evil, bitter brother out to ruin her happily ever after. What she didn't expect was silence. Calm, intentional silence. And while she scrambled to make a highlight reel out of borrowed footage and blurry smiles, I was busy organizing something else entirely. See, I'm not a social media person. I don't post often. My last Instagram post before all this was a dog I helped foster almost a year ago. But when you work in digital design like I do, you learn how to make things look clean, sharp, and, most importantly, professional. You learn how to tell a story through visuals. And I had just been given over 1,200 untold stories in JPEG form. It started with one photo. A simple, candid shot of our mom and dad dancing together, laughing like they were 20 years younger. It was taken from the side, under the canopy lights, with a perfect warm glow. It wasn't posed. It wasn't stiff. It was real. Jonah had caught it during a lull in the reception while Haley was arguing with the DJ about the playlist. I posted it with a short caption. Sometimes the best moments are the ones no one notices. It got maybe 20 likes. A few hearts from coworkers, a heart from mom. Nothing big. But Haley noticed. She DM'd me immediately. "Where did you get that photo?" I ignored it. A day later, I posted another one. This time of Nate and our cousin Emily reenacting their terrible middle school dance moves from a family reunion a decade ago. Everyone in the background was laughing. Even Jared. It was chaotic and imperfect and so much better than the wedding photos she was trying to cobble together from Snapchats. Another caption, "Genuine joy is better than forced smiles." Still no public drama, but my phone buzzed nonstop with private messages from her. "Seriously, stop. You don't have my permission to post those. You're trying to make me look bad." I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I emailed Jared back. "I'm in possession of all the wedding photos, with full copyright ownership since I was the original client. I'm not deleting them, but I won't release them to Haley unless I receive a public acknowledgement of what actually happened. No need to make it dramatic. Just the truth." 2 days went by. Crickets. Then I got a follow request from a burner account with 0 posts. The name was some random string of letters, but I knew exactly who it was. The first DM said, "Why are you doing this to me?" I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to be cruel. Honestly, I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just done. Done carrying the weight of a relationship where I was never seen as equal. Done playing the quiet sibling who absorbed every jab and fake apology. Done covering for her just to keep the peace while she played victim. This wasn't revenge. It was withdrawal. But the best part? I didn't need to post anything cruel. The photos did all the work. One by one, I kept releasing the real moments. Not to hurt her, but to remind the rest of the family what that day actually looked like. Not the version filtered through Haley's rage spiral, but the one people remembered. Uncle Darren dancing badly in his socks, Grandma tearing up during the vows, Jared's niece dumping an entire piece of cake on her dress, while everyone howled with laughter. And slowly, people started resharing them, tagging each other, commenting, "This one's my favorite. Can't believe we almost forgot this happened. That was such a good day." Haley had her wedding, but I had the memories. And that's when things really started to crack. One afternoon, Nate called me out of the blue. He's not the type to insert himself in family drama. He's Switzerland, always neutral. But he sounded weirdly fired up. "Bro, you need to hear this," he said. "I was just at Mom's. Haley came by to talk, and she completely flipped out. Like, screaming, crying, saying you were blackmailing her with the photos." I groaned. "What did Mom say?" "She tried to calm her down, but Haley wouldn't stop. Then, get this, she said you sabotaged her entire wedding and told Jonah not to take good pictures." I paused. "That's not even. What does that mean? That I asked him to take bad pictures?" Nate laughed. "I know. It was ridiculous. But the wild part? Jared didn't back her up." "What?" "Yeah. He just sat there. Then he finally said something like, 'Maybe we need to stop blaming everyone else for things not going perfectly.' I actually had to sit down. That was the first crack in the Haley/Jared facade I'd ever seen. He'd always been quiet, a go-along kind of guy. But now, maybe even he was tired of the drama. Still, I didn't push anything. I stayed quiet. Let things settle. Until the voicemail came. It was about a week later. I missed the call because I was at the grocery store, and I almost deleted it without listening. But I hit play, and there she was. Haley, voice trembling. Not angry this time. Not even dramatic. "Hey," she said. Long pause. "I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, or even talk to me again, but I guess I wanted to say I'm sorry. I know you paid for the photographer. I know I was awful to you. And I guess I just wanted people to think I had everything together. And when I felt it slipping, I panicked. You didn't deserve that toast. Or any of it." Another pause. "I keep thinking about that moment during the vows. When I looked out and saw you. You were the only one not taking a photo. You were just watching. Like, really watching. And that meant something to me. I'm sorry I ruined that." Click. No requests. No demands. Just that. It caught me off guard. For a second, I just sat there in the cereal aisle, holding a box of Raisin Bran and blinking hard. Maybe she meant it. Maybe she didn't. I waited 2 days before I called her back. Not to punish her, but because I needed that time. To think. To feel. And most importantly, to decide if I was calling as a brother or as someone cleaning up someone else's mess again. I wasn't going to play that role anymore. If she wanted a real conversation, it had to be on new terms. Mine. She answered on the first ring. I could hear her breath catch when she realized it was me. "Hey," she said softly. "I got your voicemail," I said. She didn't say anything at first. Just let the silence hang like a weight between us. "Thank you for calling me back," she said. "I didn't expect you to." "I wasn't going to," I said. "But you sounded like someone I used to know." Another pause. "I've been thinking a lot," she said. "About everything. The toast. The photos. You. I. I made that day all about me. And I didn't care who I stepped on to make it happen. That's accurate. She didn't defend herself, didn't argue, just took it. I wish I could go back and do it over, she said. You can't, I replied. But you can stop pretending it was everyone else's fault. I know. I've already apologized to Mom, and Jared, and the bridesmaids. I've got a long list. Well, I'm not going to hand you a gold star for cleaning up your own mess, I said, my tone firm. But I'll give you this. You didn't double down this time. That's progress. She let out a small, almost surprised laugh. I deserve that. You do. Then I added, you know what hurt the most? What? It wasn't the toast. Not really. It was realizing that even after everything, after I paid for the photographer, after showing up for you, you still thought it was okay to humiliate me. Like I was nothing. I know, she whispered. I was trying to make people laugh, to feel clever. But I wasn't thinking about how it would make you feel. I thought I was the center of the universe that day. You always do. I'm trying to change that. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Good. Because here's how this is going to go. I'm not releasing the photos. They're mine. And I'm keeping them. Her breath hitched. Okay. But I'll send you 5. She was quiet. Not the ones you posed for, I continued. Not the ones where you're playing some perfect version of yourself. I'll send you 5 moments that were real. That actually meant something. Because if you're serious about changing, you can start by remembering what really mattered that day. There was a long pause. Thank you, she said finally. And this time, her voice sounded different. Smaller. Less performative. Really? One last thing, I said. This isn't me forgiving and forgetting. This is me putting a boundary in place. I'm not here to be your prop or your punching bag anymore. You want a brother? Be a sister. I could tell she was crying, but I didn't fill the silence for her. When we hung up, I felt, not lighter, exactly, but clearer. Like I had finally stepped out of the role I never auditioned for and walked into my own. That night, I emailed her the 5 photos. One of Mom and Dad dancing. One of Jared helping a flower girl tie her shoe. One of the entire family laughing during the speeches when someone accidentally knocked over a glass and the microphone cut out. One of her hugging Nate, her face genuinely soft for once. And one of me, taken from the side, sitting at my table, not smiling, not laughing, just watching the ceremony exactly like she said in the voicemail. I didn't caption them. I didn't explain, but she never asked for more. A week later, she posted one of the photos. No filter, no dramatic caption, just a quiet, thank you for this memory with a single heart emoji. She never publicly explained the drama. She never tried to fix her image. And maybe that was the point. For once, Haley let go of the performance. As for me, I kept the rest of the photos backed up in a folder labeled proof. Not because I needed to hold it over her, but because sometimes knowing the truth is enough.